The police had suspicions about Anthony Todd. He worked as a physical therapist, but it appeared he had been sending insurance companies bills for services that he had never provided for a number of years. Although federal authorities were pursuing him, none could have predicted the horrifying sight they would discover at the Todd family home. On January the 13th, 2020, authorities noticed a pungent smell coming from the picturesque Celebration, Florida home. It was here that they would find the decaying bodies of Megan Todd and her three children, Alec, Tyler, and Zoe. Despite Todd's original admission of killing his family, he eventually withdrew his confession and said that his wife Megan had slain their children for taking her own life. His strange and quickly changing tales also featured his wife's supposed interest in reincarnation, to his desire to preserve his family's souls in the face of an approaching apocalypse. This is the tragic case of the Todd family murders. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Horror House. 2 episodes in 2 weeks. We are actually back. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope you've had an amazing week. And as always, thank you for your support, your continued love. You are awesome. You are legends. You are beautiful humans. Amy, I know it's only been a week, but how have you been?
Yeah, I'm all right. I just think the listeners are all right. You went in hard. They're okay, I guess.
I told you, listeners. I told you we didn't record for a few months because Amy's like, they don't appreciate enough.
You gotta earn my respect back. You gotta work for it. I'm not just gonna give it away freely. I was away for 3 months. Did we get any welcome back messages? No. Actually, no, that's a lie. We did get a few, but
we did.
Not enough. So, yeah, I want more, and then I'll be a bit nicer.
Yeah, the people that did send us welcome back messages, you're real ones. The rest of you, you're dead to us.
Yeah, who are you?
Who are you?
We don't even know you. But yeah, I'm all right, thanks. It has been a week.
It has been a week. It has certainly been a week.
But yeah, it's, I'm surviving. I'm thriving. Well, actually, that's pushing it. But I'm definitely alive.
That's good.
Yeah, it helps. When you record a podcast, it is tip number 1. Be alive.
Yeah, and it makes my life easier as well. So,
yeah. It's good. We don't want like a weekend at Bernie's situation where you're having to work me with strings or whatever. So, and plus, I would love to hear your impression of my voice.
You don't.
Actually, would I?
Yeah, you don't.
No, I don't think I would.
You know when you say something and I mock you in a really childish voice?
Oh, is that it?
That would probably be it. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's terrible. No one's going to fall for that. So, yeah, I'll just remain alive. Plan B going forward is to stay alive.
Have some true crime news for us that you very kindly said that you would share. So what is your true crime news update for this week, James?
I do. It's something that's in a little bit of the spotlight at the moment, thanks in no small part to a new Netflix documentary made by the same people who made Dharma. Ryan Murphy is incredible, and I will stand by that. I will die on that hill. And they have made a documentary called I haven't actually got the title of it in front of me, but I think it's called Monster.
Is it like the Menendez story or something?
The Menendez brothers, yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Menendez brothers. So yeah, that's come out on Netflix. I don't know, have you seen it yet? I'm assuming you haven't because you didn't know how to say Menendez. So
you didn't know how to say Menendez.
We literally just had this talk. Sounds nothing like me.
I think it sounds very much like you personally.
Yeah, well, you're a dick. So yeah, no, you haven't seen it, but the Menendez brothers killed with a shotgun, or 2 shotguns in this case, their parents in their Beverly Hills home in 1989. They were, after a mistrial, eventually convicted in 1996 of the murders. And essentially, the Netflix documentary looks at their whole story, what they tried to use it as a defense as to why they did it, which includes lots of accusations of abuse and all sorts of things. But the reason that I'm talking about it today is because the family have come out very much in support of Lyle and Eric, the brothers, which they sort of always have been. They were very much, despite the fact that they killed other members of their family, they've always been very much in support of them. They, wanted them to get off and they want them out of prison. So they've come out in support of the brothers. They've very much come out in not non-support, unsupport,
So
the opposite of support.
wait, so they don't support the brothers, or they do?
They do support the brothers. They don't support the documentary.
Got you. Right.
They're very upset about it. So, I have a bit of true crime news, which is on my phone because I'm never that prepared.
I
But,
mean,
it's here.
it's there. That's what counts.
So, this is courtesy of Fox News. So I'll have a little read of it for you.
Okay.
The relatives of Eric and Lyle Menendez, popularly known as just the Menendez brothers, are standing up for the brothers after they were convicted of shooting their parents to death in their Beverly Hills, Los Angeles mansion in 1989. Joseph Menendez, who goes by his middle name Lyle, hence Lyle and Eric, and his brother Eric, shot their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez. They were convicted of the murders and ordered to serve life in prison in 1996, but they have been seeking reduced... It says they've recently been seeking reduced sentences, but they pretty much have been since the day they got convicted. They fully believe that... They admit to the murders, they admit that they've done them, but they said that it was because of all of the abuse and that they were scared that their parents were going to kill them first. So they've always been seeking a reduced sentence. So Tammy Menendez, who is Eric's wife, has put a few statements, quite a lot of statements, to be honest, on X, formerly known as Twitter.
It's still
so
Twitter,
is Twitter. It will always be Twitter in my head. I don't use it, but it will always be Twitter in my head. So this is one of them. She put, quote, "We are virtually the entire extended family of Eric and Lyle Menendez. We are 24 strong, and today we want the world to know we support Eric and Lyle. We individually and collectively pray for their release after being in prison for 35 years. It's quite a long time.
Jesus.
We know them, love them, and want them home with us." I presume the reason that they have brought this out now is because they've seen the documentary. So it's just called Monsters. It's got the tagline of being about them and his brothers, but yeah, it's just called Monsters. And it is advertised as a true crime drama which probes the lives of the Menendez brothers convicted of the brutal 1889 murders of their parents in Beverly Hills. But the Menendez brothers' family, including Tammy, Eric's wife, describe it as, quote, wait, hang on, there's a lot of big words in this. So I'm just going to take a deep breath and prepare myself to pronounce some shit.
I believe you. I believe in you. You got this.
I've got this. I've fully got this.
Yeah.
So the family members describe it as a, quote, phobic, gross, anachronistic, serial episodic nightmare that is not only riddled with mistruths and outright falsehoods, but ignores the most recent exculpatory revelations.
God damn. Well done.
That Masters in English Literature is finally coming into play.
I definitely know what all of those big words meant.
I mean, basically, they're just saying that it's a load of horse shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're not very happy with it. So she goes on, quote, "Our family has been victimized by this grotesque shock-you-drama. Murphy claims he spent years," so Ryan Murphy, obviously the director, claimed he spent years researching the case, but in the end relied on debunked Dominic Dunn, the pro-prosecution hack, to justify his slander against us and never spoke to us. The character assassination of Eric and Lyle, who are nephews and cousins, who are our nephews and cousins, under the guise of a storytelling narrative is repulsive. We know these men. We grew up with them since they were boys. We love them and to this day are very close to them. So yeah, I mean, essentially, they just ain't very
Yeah.
happy about it.
Pretty scathing.
Which
That's pretty scathing.
I think if I'm not going to spoil it, no spoilers to the people that haven't seen it, but there is some shocking stuff that comes out about brothers in this documentary.
Okay.
It doesn't claim, I don't think at any point it claims to be true. I think it's based on a true story. So I don't think they ever actually say all of the, like what we're saying here actually happened.
Yeah.
But there are some very shocking, let's call them Game of Thrones-esque type
Okay.
moments. That if they're not true, then they are incredibly slanderous and just not good.
Yeah.
So I can see why they would be annoyed, and I could see why family members would very much not want them to be on the
Yeah.
telly.
Yeah.
If they are true, then it's, incredibly accurate and a very good piece of factual documentary
Storytelling.
making. But if it's not true, then yeah, I get why they're a bit shocked. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend watching it. It's really, really interesting. It's if nothing else, the story of a way of defending people in court that has kind of taken like a bit of a boom as a result of this case. It comes up quite a lot now, and it's really difficult to prosecute on. So I'd recommend it just on that. But yeah, again, it's just really well done. Right,
Okay.
as I say, Ryan Murphy can do no wrong in my opinion. And
Okay.
yeah, and then when you read all of like the new stuff about it, the fact that they're still trying to appeal and what the family's saying, it just makes it even more interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my piece of true crime news for today.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure.
It has been on my watch list for a while, to be honest.
It's good. It is good.
So yeah, I'll check it out. And obviously go into it with the knowledge that, you know, there might be a bit of artistic liberties taken. So
Well, if I hope there is, because if there isn't, oh,
yeah,
that's all
yeah.
I'm gonna say.
So do you know anything about the Todd family murders?
No,
No.
no, um, no. It's not often that I say that.
No,
Like,
that is very
it's
true.
quite obviously you probably get this a lot as well. But when you're like living your day to day life, people know that you do a true crime podcast, so they'll be like, "Have you heard of this?" And honestly, I'd say 80% of the time the answer is, "I've heard of it. I may
Yeah,
not know it in depth, but yeah, I've probably heard of it." This falls into that very small 20% where I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
never
So
heard of it.
no, never heard
Okay.
of it.
Um, I was a little bit familiar with it, um, because I think I was watching something sort of centered around like dark Disney. And
Of
this
course,
was this was
we're
on
mashing up the two loves there.
I know, right? This was on that was on sort of that
Hmm.
um video that I was talking about, and
Yeah.
this didn't happen in a Disney park, obviously. So it's
Ooh.
adjacent, I suppose, to that.
Okay.
But it's quite a
Has
fascinating.
anyone ever been murdered at Disney? I wonder if you know, that's happened. People have probably died, but
People
maybe
have
not
died at
necessarily
Disney,
murdered.
yeah. Um,
Yeah,
I don't think people have been murdered. Um,
I would
this,
do that. If I was going to murder someone, I'd take them to the happiest place on earth.
I mean, if I was to die at Disney, I'd be okay with
That sounds like you're volunteering, and
it.
I accept.
Disneyland Paris trip 2025. Go out in
Yeah.
style.
If I
Um,
ever book tickets for us, just be afraid.
okay. Happy birthday, Dom. This seems suspicious.
For the last time.
You have never spoken about going to Disneyland Paris, and now you've got a 7-night stay for us? This is highly
Yeah.
unusual.
Well, no, actually, your stay's only one night.
You can become the 1000th happy haunt of the Haunted Mansion.
Yay.
but yeah, as far as I know, no one's died. No one's been murdered at Disney. I'm pretty sure people have obviously like been in accidents on
Mm.
some of the rides or whatever. It
Probably
was
heart attacks,
yeah
stuff like that.
yeah
It just happens everywhere, doesn't it?
it was a common thing for people to bring their loved ones' ashes and spread them on the Haunted Mansion ride.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
That was
Yeah.
pretty common. Um,
Do they allow that, or are they just
no,
doing it anyway?
essentially,
Yeah.
from what I know, and this might be completely wrong, and my
Mhm.
Disney adult card is going to be surrendered. But the cast members literally just vacuum up the ashes. So just
Oh,
don't
no.
spread ashes on the Haunted Mansion because they will just vacuum it up.
So I
But
mean, yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna do, I guess? But,
yeah, and obviously
oh,
they have to
no.
like shut down
Your
the
loved
ride and
one's
stuff
just
like that. So
in a
it's
vacuum cleaner somewhere.
yeah,
Sad.
Nan's not in the Haunted Mansion. She
No.
is in a
She's
Dyson
in
somewhere
Henry's stomach.
in Henry's stomach.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not what they wanted.
um, so are you ready to dive into this week's kind of Disney episode?
As
Disney-esque
ready as as
episode?
ready as I'll ever be.
There's a reason why I'm wearing my Disneyland Paris Spirit
Oh,
jersey today.
yeah, I mean, if I'd have known, I sort of did know. I actually don't think I own any Disney clothing, so I couldn't have dressed for the occasion, but I would have tried harder.
I'm not gonna lie, like Disney Spirit jerseys are so fucking cozy and so comfortable.
Okay.
Like they're amazing. And now
Is this whole episode just gonna be you trying to get us sponsored by Disney? Because it's not gonna happen.
I don't know if they would want to hear. I don't know if they will want to sponsor us after hearing
Considering
this.
I
To be
just
honest,
said, "Oh, I'd love to kill someone in a Disney park," I
yeah.
don't think they're gonna get on board that quick.
Cool. So let's dive into the Todd family murders. Um, However, before we talk about the Todd family, let's touch on Celebration Florida. But to do that, we need to go all the way back to the 1960s and a little something called EPCOT. Do I have to, like, is it necessary for me to give people a very quick Disney park history? No. Am I going to? Yes. But if you want to skip this section, I won't be offended. But
Can I?
I'm a Disney buff. Unfortunately, Amy has to sit through this.
Yeah, I'll just wait.
But to be fair, it's not going to take long. It's important to the story. Let me have
If
my
you hadn't
thing.
already told me it like 20 times, then I might be a bit more enthusiastic, but every time we start a conversation, you're like, "Do you know the history of Disney?" And then I get it again,
That
so
is not true.
yeah,
That is not
there's
true.
elements of truth.
I don't talk about Disney history that much, listeners, to Amy.
Says the person that has pretty much an entire Instagram page related to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does that when he can't think of anything to say.
So,
Continue. Go, give us the history. Epcot me.
Epcot you. Okay, so um, Epcot, now one of the four parks that make up Walt Disney World. When Walter Elias Disney first imagined Epcot in the 1960s, it was actually meant to be an idealized futuristic metropolis. The idea stood for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow, hence Epcot.
What it?
And the terms city and community were frequently sort of switched around. Um, Walt's initial vision, commonly referred to as Progress City, was to have housed 20,000 people. Buildings for the community, educational institutions, and recreational facilities were to be positioned around an urban city centre shaped like a circle. Residential and commercial rings would encircle this, connected by people mover and monorail lines. Foot traffic would remain above ground, whereas automobile traffic would be kept below ground. Disney would go so far as to ask the Florida state legislature to establish the Reedy Creek Improvement District, which would have governing authority over the entire Walt Disney World property. The RCID was founded in 1967. However, Walt Disney had to agree to establish the Magic Kingdom theme park before he could get finance and authorization to begin construction on his Florida property. However, Walt Disney would die from cancer in 1966, almost 5 years before the Magic Kingdom would actually open. Following Walt Disney's passing, the company made the decision that it did not want to manage a city without his direction. As a result, the original idea for EPCOT was shelved, and EPCOT Center would open in 1982 as a theme park and would be the second of the 4 Walt Disney World parks. There are certain things that would have been used in Progress City and in the EPCOT original project that are sort of used in the other parks, but the original EPCOT was shelved, and then the theme park sort of EPCOT version of EPCOT would open. Fast forward to the early 1990s, the Disney Development Company decided to develop 4,900 acres of land in the southern part of the Reedy Creek Improvement District into a master planned community. When the new town was first being developed, then Disney CEO Michael Eisner showed a special interest in it and pushed the Disney Development Company to, quote, make history by creating a community that lived up to Walt Disney's version of an experimental prototype community of tomorrow. So in 1966, the first residents would move into Celebration, Florida. And 21 years later, the Todd family would move into the community. So yeah, that was a very quick Disney history lesson. Emmy's going to be like, that was the most painful thing I've had to listen to in the world. But hey,
I think that might be the longest I've never spoken while we've been recording.
maybe.
And I won't lie to you. I think the thing that stood out to me the most is the fact that Walt Disney's middle name was Elias.
Walter Elias Disney.
So his initials were Wed.
His initials were Wed. Yes.
Wed. How much of that history did you have to research, and how much of it did you just recite off the top of your head?
Surprisingly, I don't know much about the original EPCOT. So a lot of that I had to actually read.
Okay, well, you could have made it up. But yeah. If you'd have said, actually, that was all from my brain, I would have been like, yeah, figures.
I mean, like, I'm a Disney adult in the fact that I love going to Disney parks. However, like, I'm not a proper Disney history buff. There are things that I don't know or don't have to look up.
Not good enough, is it?
I know.
If you found out that Walt Disney was in fact frozen after his death, and you found his frozen body, would you put your finger in his mouth?
No.
Well, you know.
I mean, there probably are people that would.
I would.
But I don't think so.
I'm not even a Disney adult. I don't claim to be. But I would. Like, if you found it's Walt Disney, it's Walter Elias Disney, you're going to stick a finger in his mouth, in his cold, frozen mouth.
True. The Todd family appeared to be leading a picturesque life in the picturesque town of Celebration. It even sounds like you know, Celebration, Florida. You're like, yeah, Disney definitely like planned and designed this because it's the who else would call it Celebration?
Yeah, it sounds very happy. It sounds like the sort of place where everyone is clinically depressed, but no one talks about it. You just plaster on a smile and go about your day.
They're forced to listen to Disney music like every single day.
I've got, like, in my head, I've got a picture of, like, you know, the Atomic family.
Yeah.
Like in the house, the woman in her 50s dress, like 2 kids on the floor.
Yeah.
The mum's sewing. They're all crowded around the wireless, listening to various Disney hits.
Yeah.
of the decades and just, rocking slowly in their madness. Um, but
Do
it
you
sounds
reckon
nice.
do you reckon it's actually like North Korea, but they just have massive posters of Walt Disney everywhere, and
Yeah.
they have to, like, everything on TV is, like, Walt Disney approved or, like, Disney
There's
approved.
no real internet. Anytime they type in any search, it just comes up with the Mickey Mouse version of that search. There's no porn, nothing.
Oh, dear.
Well, there is porn, but you
But,
don't wanna watch it because you
yeah,
don't wanna tarnish your favorite
if
characters.
there is porn, it's, like, Disney characters only,
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I've seen some great stuff, but it don't do it for me.
like
So,
Goofy getting his rocks off. Bless him. Um
I've seen a picture of you with the Goofy Dom. I wouldn't, let's not delve into that.
so, Anthony Todd was a licensed physical therapist, and he would so after they moved to Celebration, he would continue to work at the clinic in Connecticut where they were living before, while visiting the family weekly in Celebration. Um, Alec, 13, Tyler, 11, and Zoe, 4, the three small children, were homeschooled by their stay-at-home mother, Megan. Um,
Mickey Mouse.
they were schooled by the mouse, the House of
Let me
Mouse.
teach you kids.
That
Was
was
that
actually
good?
that
Was
was
that
actually
good?
quite good, yeah.
Thanks. I've been working on it.
You were like, at some point, Dom's gonna do a
Yeah.
Disney-centric
I've
or a
been
Disney
waiting like 3 years
inspired
for the
episode.
Disney episode to unleash my Mickey Mouse impression, and the day has finally come.
Oh, dear. No, that was pretty good.
Thank you.
That was I mean, I would say that's high praise, but it's not coming from me.
No, there's absolutely no reason for me to need to do that ever, but I can, and then it's just the laugh. I can't actually do the voice, it's just the laugh. It's the
So, the Todd family appeared to be content, close, and involved in their neighborhood based on their posts on social media. However, sometimes things are not all what they seem to be from the outside when you delve a little bit further in. Um, Although Anthony Todd appeared to have a successful physical therapy practice, it was uncovered in 2019 that Anthony was actually billing patients for services that they had never received. In an affidavit obtained by People and filed in the US District Court of Connecticut, where the Todd family resided prior to relocating to community and where Anthony was still sort of mainly based, um, would detail the fraud accusations made against Anthony Todd. As stated in a 2020 article by People, the affidavit claims that Todd ran a scheme to steal $130,000 from insurance companies, including Medicaid, I think it's Cigna, and Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. Todd is charged with, quote, billing those plans for physical therapy services that were never provided, according to the document. This alleged fraud would take place as early as 2015 and lasted through the middle of 2019.
Yikes.
So he had that going
I
for.
mean, he's got to pay for his celebration house somehow. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that those houses aren't cheap. So
No, I don't think so.
not so much.
I don't think so. Um, Disney don't really have anything to do with Celebration now. I think I did read that he did use like the excess that he would get from the scams and stuff like that to pay for the Celebration home, to pay for trips to Walt Disney World and all this other stuff. So,
Mm.
I mean, he could have, you know, taken me to Disney World. Just saying, Anthony.
Really? Really? You're sure about that?
No.
Considering what he's gonna, I assume, go on to do, you're happy? Like, are you such a Disney slut that you would let a murderer who I assume is going to be a murderer, take you to Disney?
Well, I would let him take me to Disney, but I'd be like, right, you're getting me a different hotel. Like, you're going to get me the best hotel on property, and I'm not going to hang out with you, but you're going to pay for my flight. You're going to pay for my tickets. Like,
He's
so
gonna expect something in return.
you are the vessel to get me to Disney World. After that, hang around with your family, that you
He's
obviously
he's gonna
care
want
about very much.
he's gonna want a very good time in return. He's gonna wanna enjoy the happiest place on earth with you, and you're just gonna have to let him.
Well, if he gets me a Dole Whip, then whatever.
A what?
It's a Disney snack, and it's very good.
Is a Disney snack? Okay, good, because it sounds like a sex toy.
No, it's
So,
not.
honestly, I thought you were about to confess something. But yeah, cool. Yeah, snacks.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Like,
You
get
wanna,
me a
get Dom alone, just buy him a snack.
if he gets me a Mickey waffle, then he can kill me, and I'll die a happy man.
I think he's more likely to get you blue waffle.
What? Men can't get that silly.
Well,
If you don't know what blue waffle is, don't Google
don't Google it.
it.
Jesus Christ.
Do not do. Like, if you do, then we're not responsible for the
No, it's on
therapy
you.
that you're going to have to undergo. Like, there's nothing to do with
It's
us. You
it
have
has
been
nothing
warned.
to do with us.
Yeah. And if me and Amy are saying don't Google something,
Yeah,
don't Google it.
Don't do it. It's just not worth it.
No, absolutely not. According to a 2020 NBC News article, investigators were informed by one family that after they ceased attending family physical treatment, their insurance company received a claim for 172 hours of physical treatment. For those sessions, Medicaid would pay out Todd more than $17,000.
Ooh.
In court filings, Anthony acknowledged that he began, quote, adding stuff to the bills of randomly selected patients. Dick move, Anthony.
Yeah.
He said that neither his spouse nor his staff knew about the scheme that he had going on. So, not great. Also not great is that according to records, Anthony's company had taken out loans from 20 different lenders between 2015 and 2018.
Ooh.
Indeed. Also, in 1 month alone in 2017, the business had taken roughly $100,000 in short-term loans.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, indeed.
That's not a financially viable strategy.
Oh dear, indeed. No. Also, like, why are you not very good at running this insurance scam that you have to take
Yeah.
out $100,000 in short-term loans in 1 month? In 1
So this
month.
is what I was thinking. Like, he's having to take out all of this money, all of these loans, and he's having to charge for like fraudulent treatments. Surely he's making some money off
Yeah.
like regular treatments. He must be actually, doing some.
Yeah,
Where's it going?
exactly.
Why is that not enough? Well, it's going to fucking Mickey. But,
it's going to the House of Mouse.
yeah.
That's where that's
It's
going.
come on, it's going on. What is it? Dole Whip.
And Dole Whip and Mickey Waffles.
Tell me that doesn't sound sexy.
And spirit jerseys. I mean, it does sound sexy.
Dole Whip. Like, maybe it's the whip. I don't know.
But it's actually like so good. It's amazing.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Federal officers question Todd and looked through his office in November 2019. He assured them at the time that he would get an attorney and plan to enter a guilty plea, which he absolutely followed through with. Definitely didn't cease all correspondence by December of that year.
Run away!
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He was like, "Yeah, I'll plead guilty. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Don't come to the house. Like, there's going to be no suitcases. Like, it's going to be fine. It's all going to be good."
Just fully stuck his head in the sand.
It's
That's not
like,
a good approach, Todd. Oh,
They
no,
see,
Anthony. Sorry, Anthony Todd.
they see him like fleeing like county lines, and he's just like, "I'm just going to the shops. I'll be back.
I'll be right
I'll be
back.
right back.
Yeah.
Just
I
gonna
mean, that
get
is
some milk."
dumb. That's on the places, the places, can't even say it. On
Police
the
assistants.
places part, that is pretty dumb. Like, that's a lot of money. He's not coming back.
Yeah, no.
Come on.
Like as soon as he was like, if I was like an investigator, and as soon as he was like, "Yeah, I'll get an attorney and plan to enter a guilty plea," I would have been like, "Fuck, he's not gonna do that."
Okay,
Like,
well, we'll just wait.
it's absolute
You sit
bullshit.
down and we'll wait.
So, family members would express concern to authorities that they had not received a response from the Todd family. On December the 29th, the police would conduct a welfare check at the celebration home, but they left when no one inside the residence would respond to them. Mail would accumulate on the porch of the house despite the Todd's presence in Florida in celebration, and an eviction notice was posted on the door. On the 13th of January 2020, authorities would go to the Todd's house once more, this time to serve Anthony Todd with an arrest warrant for fraud. Anthony Todd would look pale and shaky when he arrived at the stairs to greet them. After
Been having
obtaining...
a Dole Whip.
Yeah. He just had like the Dole Whip 3000, and he's just a bit worse for wear.
Oh, dear.
Where Disney aren't going to touch this episode, are they?
No.
Well, there's our free Disney trip. Flush down the toilet.
Buggered.
Good stuff. After obtaining a key from the landlord, the officers would enter the house and would come upon a scene of absolute horror. But before we get to that, I think now is a good time to take a quick break. Amy, what do you think?
I completely agree.
Happy days. Get a Dole Whip. Get your favorite Disney stuffed animal. I don't know. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Bye.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second part of this week's episode. Amy, how did you find part one? What do you think of Anthony Todd's scheme, which obviously is going very well if he's having to take out short-term loans? Yeah, what do you think about this guy so far?
Yeah, he doesn't seem all that intelligent. Like, if you're committing crime, don't also do legal stupid things. Like, taking out payday loans and stuff is dumb when you're already doing something illegal to try and gain money. Like, just pick a lane. And he obviously hasn't.
Yeah.
And now you're getting evicted, and police have knocked on your door when you're right in the middle of having your, I don't know, whatever you were doing that's made you all pale and shaky.
Yeah.
And it's, it's just be a better criminal.
Yeah. Anthony Todd, you're not very good at this, are you, buddy? You're really not.
No.
But yeah, it's like you said, don't do illegal things and then get a payday loan
debt anyway.
and get into more debt.
I don't know, is it kind of genius? Because if you're doing illegal things to gain money and then the police come and you're like, but look at all of my debt. Don't you think that if I was getting money by illegal means, I would have paid this off? Is it smart?
No, that's actually a really good point.
Right?
I didn't even consider that. Maybe this is genius wrapped in utter stupidity.
It's like someone knocking on your door and going, hey, you, did you steal my dog? And then you're like, I have a dog. That's not really the same. But it's kind of the same. Like,
that's an amazing. Did you steal my dog? Uh, no, I have my own.
I have a dog. I don't need your dog. Go talk to someone that doesn't have a dog or is claiming not to have a dog.
Uh.
That's not really the same. I've just realized that's not exactly what I mean. But yeah, a good cover for not being someone that is stealing money. Because that's how a lot of like people that steal money or do insurance scams or whatever get caught, isn't it? Because they're like, they've suddenly got all of this cash and they're
Yeah,
like splashing it about and buying fucking Rolexes with, cash and things like that. Whereas if you're suspected of it and the police knock on the door and you've got a fucking mountain of unpaid debts and there's an eviction notice on the door, they're maybe not going to think, oh yeah, this guy's running a scam.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't he might be, we were quick to judge, but maybe
I
he's a bit
mean,
of a genius. I mean, he still got caught,
yeah,
so he's not a genius, but maybe he, had a plan.
yeah. Maybe we were too harsh to judge. Maybe this is actually kind of smart. Um,
I've got a feeling when we get into the second part, I'm going to take all of that back and give him no credit whatsoever.
I think
But
you're yeah, yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, let's get into part 2. Um,
Okay.
uh, just a forewarning, this is gonna get a little bit grim. If you are an animal lover, this is
Oh
probably gonna
no.
be particularly unpleasant, but
Oh, we don't cross that line, Dom.
I know, I'm sorry. I just thought I would give people a heads up.
Women, yes. Children, yes. Kill them all. Dogs, no. No,
Killing
no, no,
humans
no.
is absolutely fine, but you don't kill dogs or cats or animals in
Okay.
general. Um,
I'm ready.
cool.
Oh, look
So
how sad I already am. Look how much my mood has changed.
so authorities had gained access to the Todd family home, and as I said, came upon um, a not too pleasant scene, one that probably you would need a fair amount of therapy to remove from your memory bank. Um, it was a pungent odor that would hit them at first, and then they would quickly find out exactly why. Um, in the master bedroom, laying under blankets, were Megan Todd, her 3 kids, and the family dog. Um, Federal enforcement officer Michael Phelps stated, quote, "The bodies were discolored black and blue." Um, the body of the 4-year-old daughter, Zoe, had decomposed to such an extent that she was first unable to be located by the authorities. That wasn't until they looked under the body of Megan and discovered Zoe underneath her feet. So, hearing that, you would probably make the assumption that the bodies had been there for quite some time. And you would, in fact, be correct. They had been there for quite some time. Investigators, according to the Os- I don't know how to pronounce this. Uh, according to the Oscala, I don't Oscala, I think.
Sure.
Um, I'm not Floridian. Sorry, Floridian.
Yeah, let's go with it.
Um, County Sheriff Russ Gibson believed the family had been dead since late December. Um, this implies that before their remains were found, the family may have been dead in the house for longer than 2 weeks or around two
Oh,
weeks. Um, that also implies that Anthony had been living in the house with the rotting corpses of his family that entire time,
ugh.
which is fucking disgusting.
But why the dog?
I don't know. I I don't know. Like why? So obviously, like just family annihilation is horrendous, but why the dog as
Yeah,
well?
obviously.
Like I don't
Like,
understand why the dog had to go. Like, is the dog
yeah,
gonna go to the police and tell the police everything? Like, why did the dog have to die?
sad. Although
So
I guess maybe the dog. Oh no, wait, Amy, you're going to some dark places. I was going to say maybe the dog would have tried. I don't know, gnawing on things.
Well,
You don't
maybe.
want the dog to, like, interfere with the dead bodies.
Maybe. No. True.
But that's still no reason to kill him. Just put him, like, in a kennel or something. You don't
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
message to any budding serial killers, you don't have to kill the pets.
Yeah. Don't kill the pet.
You don't have to kill anyone. I mean, if we're really gonna talk about it, you don't actually have to kill people. It's not a thing that you're required to do. But if you are gonna do it, you don't have to kill the pets. Just let
Yeah.
them go.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, unfortunately, Anthony felt that the dog had to go for some reason. Um, but also, like, Anthony lived with the decaying bodies of his family for like 2 weeks, which is fucking grim. Anthony, what are you
Yeah.
doing? So
I just actually brushed over that because I was too fixated on the dog. But yeah, that is grim.
yeah,
Like,
but
but that's gotta be, I mean, that's gotta be just a lack of planning, right? Like, he doesn't know how to get rid of the bodies,
I don't
so he
know.
kept them for a bit.
I don't know. I can
Oh,
only imagine when the police open the door to that house, like the wall of smell that
right,
hit
again,
them.
we welcome to Amy discloses way too much about her previous life, time. But I used to run a hotel, right? So I was the manager of the hotel. I had the master key to all of the bedrooms at all times. Um, and sometimes when you run quite a big hotel, it had 303 bedrooms. It was based at an airport. It was a big hotel. So when you do that, people die. That happens. And if they're booked in for more than one night, you don't necessarily check that
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah,
But we once had someone die in the room, I think probably heart attack or something very quick because they just popped it. There was no, it was very quick and easy to wrap up basically. But they'd been in there for 2 days before we were alerted to like any issues
yeah,
pretty much because the do not disturb sign was on the door. So the maids weren't going in. Then yeah, no one knew. Um, and I can tell you now, as the first person walking into that room, it fucking
yeah.
stank.
I can
And it was
imagine.
2 days.
Yeah.
We couldn't use the room for 6 weeks.
Oh God. Fucking hell.
So 2 weeks worth of decay and deterioration is not gonna smell good.
Nope. Nope. Absolutely not.
It's
Like,
not a smell that you can forget.
yeah. Um, I don't know how you can like stay in the house for 2 weeks without being like, like I c
Without doing anything. Like,
yeah,
he's obviously just he's put them in the right, I know he's moved them, obviously, but he's put them in the bed and then just gone, "Well, that's done."
yeah, pretty much.
But no, that's not the end of the task. You need to continue. There's more steps to this.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and like, I understand that it's probably a lot of work to, you know, dispose of the bodies and clean up
It was a lot of work to
after,
kill him in the first place.
and
Should have thought about
this
that.
whole sort of everything is hard work from pre-murder, murder, post-murder. But why, if you're going to do it, why not dispose of the body? Why are you just hanging
Yeah,
around with it for
really.
2 weeks? I don't understand.
Yeah, see, this is what makes me think even more that it wasn't premeditated. Like, he's obviously just, I don't know, off them for some apparent reason and, yeah, not planned anything.
Well,
Because if he'd premeditated, you would plan on how to get rid of the bodies, right? That's my theory. No? Am I wrong?
no, yeah, it makes sense. Um, there are potential reasons why
Oh, go on.
Anthony decided to off his family, which we will delve into. Um, so the family not only had stab wounds, but also had toxic doses of Benadryl in their bodies. Um, according to the medical examiner, all family members died by homicidal violence, and all of them had toxic amounts of Benadryl in their bodies. Um,
Okay.
Anthony, meanwhile, admitted to having taken Benadryl himself and made comments about harming himself, leading authorities to commit him for treatment. He would also later admit to the murders and laid out exactly how he had done them. In
Mhm.
his taped confession, Todd described how he killed his youngest child, 4-year-old Zoe, first. He went into her room while she was sleeping, sat with her for a time, and then rolled on top of her to suffocate her. He would tell the detectives, quote, "I needed to save her soul," quote, "I wanted her to be with us." After that, he turned to his son Alec and proceeded to stab and suffocate him before going into Tyler's playroom and doing the same thing. According to Anthony, Megan stabbed herself, but was unable to go through with the plan, so he would use a pillow to suffocate her. And of course, unfortunately, Breezy, the family dog, would be killed as well. As I said, Anthony Todd would then move his family into the master bedroom, and he spent weeks living with their rotting corpses. And as I said earlier, sort of, Anthony was like, him and his missus made a pact that, they were going to kill the family and then kill themselves because of a coming apocalypse, and they wanted to, be saved and stuff like that. That was his original story, which does change.
Okay.
But that was his original sort of bull crap.
Is this like a God-fearing
reasoning.
apocalypse, or is this like a I've looked into my tea leaves and foreseen the apocalypse?
Maybe a bit of both. Maybe a bit from column A, maybe a bit from column B.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a Disney apocalypse. Who knows? It was an apocalypse.
Mickey told me.
Mickey Mouse said to kill my family, and the dog as well, because Mickey Mouse hates dogs.
Because Pluto was jealous.
Pluto was like, "There's only one dog," like at its meat.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, Breezy, you gotta go.
We don't talk about Goofy.
So, come Anthony Todd's trial, however, this story of a suicide pact, and because of apocalypse and they wanted to be saved, that would change entirely, and he would state that his wife Megan was solely responsible for the murder of the family.
Okay, well, she did. So she's not solely responsible because she did.
Yeah. Also, it's a taped confession. I probably wouldn't change your story now, considering
we're not taping over it.
Taped confession.
That's
especially at trial. Like, don't change your story at trial, Anthony.
It's too late.
It's a bit. I don't think that's going to help your cause, to be honest.
That moment has passed.
Also, what didn't help Anthony Todd's cause is he acted in his own defense, which is this never works.
Why do people do this?
I don't think we've covered a case where someone's acted as their own defense that has gone anywhere near well. It never works.
You don't even have to have looked into serial killers that much. Like Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
He represented himself. Look where he is.
Yeah. So, as I said, throughout his trial, Anthony would act in his own defense. And he would testify, one, that he had no recollection of his interviews with the detectives. And two, that his initial confession had been made under duress. He would say, quote, "My testimony today is the fact that Megan killed her kids and killed herself." I don't know, Anthony, on that one, pal. According to Anthony, Megan had been dealing with Lyme disease and had developed a serious case of depression following several miscarriages. It was said that she was so unwell she could hardly walk upstairs or take care of herself. It was also said that she had developed an obsession with reincarnation as well. In her weakened state, Anthony claimed that Megan had hoped to die with her family and be reincarnated into a better life. Anthony's new account states that One day in December, he returned home to discover Meghan had slain the children. He said that he saw Meghan stab herself to death in front of him after he hurried to check on them and was certain that they were dead. Is that true? Probably not. But according to uh, family members, Meghan was content and in good health when they last saw her. They had no knowledge that she was sick or that she was preoccupied with the end of the world. Meghan's uncle, Stuart Peel, would say in a 2022 interview with the Hartford Courant, quote, "She was very sick 10 years ago, but she was treated and she was fine and she recovered. Every time I saw her, she was fine. There was never any indication that she was frail or weak. This whole story that she was an invalid that he had to take care of wasn't true with me." And as I said, while Anthony's account could be true, hope the sarcasm came through on that. one one question does arise: if Meghan really was as weak and frail as her husband had stated, how could she have killed all three of her children and stabbed herself to death? It
Mm,
kind of falls apart a little bit. If if this woman was an invalid and couldn't even climb the stairs, where did she get this surge of
yeah.
strength from?
Also, by all accounts, it is really not that I've tried it, obviously, but to stab yourself is really difficult.
Mm,
Like, particularly in the stomach or in like the chest, like, the classic, yeah,
yeah,
death.
yeah,
It's really hard because every like fiber of your being is telling you not to do it and is
yeah.
trying to stop you from doing yourself harm. So you've got to have some sort of physical strength to be able to do that anyway, let alone wrestle children. And they're not really young children, are they? How old was the oldest? He was, did you say 15 or 13?
Um, so doo-doo-doo. Where would I? Give me a
I'm pretty sure
second.
you said he was a teenager.
So the oldest was 13.
Yeah, a 13-year-old boy isn't weak
No,
generally. Like, if he was, relatively athletic, then that's not an easy feat. I mean, maybe I could probably take a 13-year-old boy, but I'm all right. I'm in good health
yeah,
and, I'm sneaky. But a woman with Lyme disease who is weak and can't supposedly get up the stairs isn't going to be able
no,
to wrestle and
Abs-
kill a
absolutely not.
13-year-old boy, let alone
Absolutely not.
anyone else.
No,
So, yeah, I mean, there's a few plot holes, Anthony, just a few, one or two.
yeah. Prosecutors would use Anthony Todd's taped confession as proof to the jury throughout the trial that he was the actual murderer. Anthony Todd, quote, wanted control over the lives of his kids, and over Meghan, according to the prosecution. They attracted attention to the fact that Todd had been living with the corpses for weeks. They further asserted that Todd had texted family members in the days following the death of his family, likely to allay suspicions when they were unreachable, to report that the family were feeling ill. Um, Peel thought that Todd had taken extreme measures because he was having financial problems and was being investigated for fraud. Um, Quote, I think he blamed his family for a lifestyle that he couldn't maintain, Peel added. I wish he had gone to them and told them that they would need to live within their means. His solution was, instead, to end everything. And I think,
Hmm. Yeah, you've jumped a couple of steps there, mate.
yeah, yeah, exactly. um, and I think for me, that's if I am like, what was the overall motive? Kind of that's kind of it. Like
Yeah,
he was having financial problems. He was probably going to go down for fraud. Let's be honest. Um,
yeah.
and it probably would have meant that. I mean, obviously, then he would have to admit to his family what he had done, and that you know, it might be
But
that
even so, like, that's got nothing to do with them.
no,
Like,
No.
Yeah, okay, maybe he did blame them for, living outside their means or whatever he thought they were doing to not help the financial situation, but it's they don't need to die. Like, what benefit is
No.
there in them dying? You've already done it. These things are already happening. So it's pointless unless they're all insured.
That's yeah. That's a question, isn't it?
But then he made no attempt to,
No.
make out that someone else had done it. He
No.
made no attempt to, get rid of the bodies or that they'd all disappeared or anything like that. He started a plan and then there was no follow through.
No.
So I highly doubt it was for insurance. So yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at this as a whole, motive just seems so weak.
Yeah. Because I thought maybe insurance, but like you said, he made no attempt to dispose of the bodies. And as far as I can tell, he didn't like make up any sort of story that he would
No.
need to get
Well, he
insurance money.
did, but it was shit.
Yeah. It was about
And way too late.
the fucking apocalypse. Like an insurance company, I don't think is going to take that. Like you might need
Yeah.
something a bit more than
Apocalypse
that.
insurance isn't really a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So alien abduction insurance, it doesn't exist, Anthony.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I was like, maybe insurance. Maybe he was like, you know, if the family finds out, then they're going to leave, and he's like, well, if I can't keep them, then you know they're
Kill
going to
him.
have to go. I don't know. Um, but
Yeah.
you know, he changed his story, so who knows what the motive was? You know, it's I think Megan's uncle, is probably right that he had just taken very drastic measures because of his financial issues, and his family was
Mm.
probably going to find out at some point, and he was like, well, they're going to have to go. It was probably as simple as that, potentially.
Yeah.
Um, don't know why the dog had to be bundled into that, but even
Yeah.
the um,
Your
dog had
dog
to go
food's
as
too
well.
expensive, you little dick.
Yeah. You eat better than me. Like, fuck's sake. What's this
You
bougie dog
contribute
food?
nothing to this household.
So the jury would ultimately share the sentiment of Megan's family members. The panel in Kissimmee would rule Anthony John Todd guilty on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of cruelty to animals for killing the family dog. Um, Judge Keith Carston, who referred to Todd as a, quote, destroyer of worlds, gave him 4 consecutive life sentences for the killings and an additional 1 year for killing the dog as sort of cruelty to animals. Which, I'm not going to lie, I got a kick out of that. Because I
Yeah.
was like, the judge is just like, right, life sentence, life sentence, life sentence, life sentence, all running concurrently. Oh, and by the way, I'm just going to give you another year for killing the
Yeah.
dog.
It's like putting that cherry on top of the milkshake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
plus, it's good because, as much as like the family obviously deserve justice, but so does the dog.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
deserves his day in court. And yeah,
No,
fuck you.
100%.
Fuck you, Anthony.
100%. But obviously, as with so many cases, where
Oh
it was
no.
probably quite clear what happened and who the murderer was. Anthony, who, as we said, testified in his own defense and who pleaded not guilty to all the charges against him, um, even now persisted in asserting his innocence, and even now he still persists his innocence.
God's sake.
Atu would tell the court when getting sentenced, quote, "This was a personal catastrophe in everybody's life and my family, including myself. I maintain my innocence." After the oh,
Okay.
it gets better. Um, after the verdict was announced, he would tell the judge directly, like he looked at the judge and told the judge directly to his face, quote, "I loved my wife. I loved my kids. They were first and foremost in my life. I did not do this. I provided for my wife. I provided for my kids. I did everything I could."
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
Let's say hypothetically, and I do mean this purely hypothetically because I don't believe a word of what he's saying. He comes home, right? And his wife is dead. His children are dead. His dog is dead. They've all been, I don't know, slain or stabbed and, suffocated. They're all, yeah, it's a shock, presumably, because
Yeah.
you weren't expecting them to come home and them all be dead.
Yeah.
Your first response isn't, holy shit, I need to A, not touch anything
Yeah.
because I don't want my
Yeah.
DNA on this because I didn't do it. And B, call the fucking police so
Yeah.
we can find out who did. No, neither of those things crossed his mind. What he thought was, well, this is a mess. I'm going to pop them all in bed and then I'm going to wait 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that doesn't happen. So unless Anthony has got some sort of other, I don't know, magical, mysterious person that has killed them and then forced him to sit in a room with them for 2 weeks, I think it might have been him.
I have a funny feeling that Anthony might have been responsible
I
for
reckon he
the
might be
entire
guilty,
thing. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's just a
I'm
funny
just
feeling.
call it an inkling.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, women's intuition, something in my water just tells me that he might have done it.
Something in Amy's ovaries is saying Anthony might have done
It's
this, you know?
twitching. No, because that implies it's a good thing. I always say that about, when Henry Cavill comes on the screen, I'm like, oh, my ovaries. And that's not doing the same thing. But yeah, definitely something in my bladder
Yeah.
is saying that he's guilty.
Yeah. So yes, that is the case of the Todd family murders. Thoughts, Amy? I think it's quite quite clear who the real perpetrator was. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, what did you think about this case?
I mean, just straight off the bat, I'm really surprised that I haven't heard of it because it is so recent.
Yeah, yeah,
And, this is like a 2020, a time where I'm fully head first, balls deep in true crime, It's
yeah,
not like I can say, "Oh, I was only a teenager and therefore it wasn't really registering." Like, no, I've been fully fully into it for quite some years at this point, and I'd never heard of it. Um, it's so I don't want to draw this comparison because everyone knows my feelings on unsolved mysteries and how much I
yeah,
I do not appreciate them. Um,
yeah.
but this almost sort of falls into that category for me a little bit
Okay.
because I mean, I don't know, maybe it just doesn't make sense to me, but I have a lot of questions that are unanswered. Like, number one, why did he feel the need to kill them? Because, again, there's no thought process in my head that would think, oh, I'm in debt. Me personally, I'm in debt. My family need to die. Like, there's no
Yeah,
connection. So I don't get that. Yes, there's the apocalypse element, but that doesn't seem to be massive in their lives. Like, they don't seem to be heavily religious outwardly. So I don't know if you would necessarily kill your whole family over it. And then even, whatever the motive, whatever the reason that he ended up killing them all, what is the reason for keeping them for 2 weeks?
yeah, yeah,
Like, what is he doing in those 2 weeks?
yeah. No, good, great question. Like, it really
Like,
is.
because he's not coming up with a plan. He's not like, attempting to dispose of the bodies. He's not calling the police. He's not, coming up with a story. Yes, there were a few texts to the family so people didn't rock up on the doorstep, but he certainly doesn't sound like he had any sort of plan. So are you just sitting looking at them for 2 weeks? Like,
Yeah,
dude, come on.
yeah,
What's going on? So
yeah,
that, yeah, there's a few questions that I'm a bit like, this doesn't sit right with me. And Yeah, I won't ever get them answered. So
No,
that's upsetting.
no. Because obviously Anthony's not going to talk, is he? Because he's like, oh, it definitely wasn't me. It was my wife.
Weren't me. I didn't do it.
Yeah, well, nothing to do with it. Yeah, my
Yeah.
very sick wife. That's who it was.
Yeah. I did. I sort of half suspected you to be like, oh, he pleaded not guilty, reason insanity. And I was like, oh, what a shock.
No,
But no, he didn't. He's flat, no, I didn't do
just
it.
flat out no.
Well, okay, that's interesting, Anthony. The problem with that is that you did. So, do you want to
Yeah.
try something else? Or
It might have been better for him to plead not guilty for a reason of insanity, not just straight not guilty, I didn't do
not guilty? Yeah.
it.
Even if he'd have gone guilty, there's a very good chance that if he'd had hired a fucking lawyer, which apparently he's too good for, although he has got a lot of debt, fair play.
Yeah.
If he'd have hired a lawyer, they would have said, let's say you're mental.
Yeah.
Because clearly you are.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they could have worked out a plea bargain. As much as that would have infuriated me, they could have worked out a plea bargain.
Yeah, we don't like plea bargains, but yeah, could have worked
So
out a plea bargain.
so
Very confusing.
he didn't
Very
help himself with
there's
that.
just no sense in it.
No.
And there's certainly no sense in killing the dog.
Yeah, yeah. The dog wasn't the one that got you in debt, Anthony. Like, your family
Yeah.
in general didn't. That was entirely you.
That was all you, buddy.
Anthony Todd, you're shitbag, for many
Mhm.
reasons. And just just the the gall the gall to be like, "Yeah, I didn't do anything, it was the wife." Even though she
Yeah.
was an invalid and incapable and couldn't climb the stairs.
Supposedly.
Like, and I
Yeah.
had a taped confession. Like, why
Yeah.
deny it? Like, why deny it? Like, just be a fucking man and just be like, "Yeah, it was me." You know?
Very strange case. Very
Yeah,
strange case.
100%. Cool. Amy, would you like to see us out for this week?
I would love to. Thank you, as always, for joining us for this episode. We did 2 weeks in a row after our break. Go us.
We are back.
We're back. We are fully back. If you would like to support us, if you enjoy what we do, I think is more important. If you enjoy what we do, then feel free to give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, give us a 5-star review or as many stars as you see fit, but anything under 3 and I will be upset. So bear that in mind. But feel free to give us a review. You can now comment on individual episodes on Spotify. So Spotify on Spotify. So if you want to do that, please feel free to do so. You are more than welcome to highlight all of the things Dom can't pronounce. Go for it. It's fine.
It's going to be a long comment, that. Fucking hell.
There's going to be a long comment. I think there's probably a limit. But give it a go. We don't mind. If you would like to support us financially, because we are poor, starving artists.
Yes.
Kind of. Ish. Then you can do that. We've got a Buy Me a Coffee link. You can just wang a bit of money over to us.
Yeah.
For our American listeners, that is British slang for give us some money.
Yes.
I don't think you guys say wang us some money. I don't think that's really a thing. And I think wang means penis.
Wang is very different.
Yeah, I've yeah.
Don't send us photos of your penis, Americans.
Why don't you send us some money so that I can learn how to speak properly? If you can't do any of that, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week. But in the meantime, if you can't be good, just stay spooky.
Oh, that's good.
Thanks.
That's very nice. Stay spooky.
So, I sort of glazed over it. I didn't actually mention it during the episode. Benadryl? I take Benadryl all the time. I don't know if you get fucking high off of it.
I mean, I suppose if you take enough, like, it can be toxic, I guess.
Oh. I mean, I guess that's true of anything.
Yeah, like you said, and if you take anything in a big enough dose, it's probably
Yeah.
gonna not be great.
I mean, if you eat enough Skittles, eventually it'll probably kill you.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
wonder how many
Okay.
Skittles you would need to eat for that to be deadly.
I've eaten a lot of Skittles and I'm not dead.
Yeah. There
Only on
there
the inside.
there must be, like, an experiment. I was about to say there must be an experiment. There's not gonna be an
There's not
experiment,
gonna
is
be an
there?
experiment. And if there was, they'd probably put the number on the packet. Please be warned, eating 9,837 Skittles will kill you.
I'm gonna go to Londi's and be like, "Could I have 9,000 Skittles, please?
I need
It's for science."
9,736 Skittles. I
That
wanna come right
exact
close to
number,
the edge.
not not anything less, anything more. I want that exact number of Skittles, please.